we both countries are having problems to deal with religion as the basis of statehood. And as long as religion is the basis of statehood and we have this incorrect understanding of history, we're going to continue. After all, today RSS chief said that Muslim invaders. I said, why do you call them invaders? The old India was Indus River Basin centric, and then it joined fused with the Ganges Basin, and then the Deccan Basin. The Deccan rivers are totally different. So all these cultures are together. We have to sort out who we are.
When you say a rational basis to be together, I am presuming that you mean that current states in the subcontinent can remain independent states but be part of an Indian union of states like the European Union, something like that.
Europe is today a union of shared values.
Shared values.
The problem is with India and Pakistan. Pakistan more so because Pakistan is avowedly a religious, and India was supposedly a secular state, which is now becoming increasingly religious.
Taqsim Hind 1947, the bloody partition of Punjab, तनाज़ कश्मीर 1965 की पाक भारत जंग, सानियाए मशरक़ी पाकिस्तान और भारत का किरदार, खालिस्तान मूवमेंट और ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार, अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी का दौरा लाहौर और कारगिल जंग, इंडियन पार्लियामेंट पे हमले, मुंबई हमले, बालाकोट पे भारतीय हमला, कलभूषण यादव और बलोचिस्तान, तनाज़ात और इल्ज़ामात में अमन की तलाश. Watch Indo-Pak Dialogue with Dr. Ishtiaq Ahmed and leading voices from India. Talking Politics on Federal Post. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Talking Politics special episode. Special because इस प्रोग्राम में हम बात करते हैं हिंदुस्तान और पाकिस्तान के बीच में मुमकिना दोस्ती की, बेहतर ताल्लुकात की, और कुछ पास्ट को रिविजिट करते हैं, उन गलतियों को देखते हैं जो हमसे हुई हैं और उन्हें सुधारने के तरीके ढूंढते हैं. इसी के लिए आज हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं डॉक्टर इश्तियाक अहमद साहब, स्टॉकहोम से होते हैं हमारे साथ, और मोहन गुरुस्वामी साहब हैदराबाद इंडिया से हमारे साथ हैं. मैं आपकी इजाज़त से ज़रा एक थोड़ा सा लिखा हुआ है मेरे पास इंट्रोडक्शन, वो मैं पढ़ देता हूँ सो आवर ऑडियंस कैन बेटर अंडरस्टैंड कि हम किन से बात करने जा रहे हैं. मोहन गुरुस्वामी साहब had his undergrad education in mathematics, physics and chemistry at Nizam College, Hyderabad, India. He has postgraduate qualifications in public policy, international affairs and management, among others. He is an alumnus of the John F. Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University, and the Graduate School of Business at Stanford University. He has a varied career path that included teaching, senior management, journalism, and in government as the advisor to the finance minister with the rank of secretary to the government of India. He has been a distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, New Delhi, chairman of the Center for Policy Alternatives, New Delhi, distinguished fellow of the United Service Institution of India, and visiting professor at the Administrative Staff College of India, Hyderabad. So that is Janab Mohan Guruswamy साहब. डॉक्टर साहब, आपका सबसे पहले मैं शुक्रिया अदा करूंगा कि आपने मोहन साहब को इनवाइट किया. और मोहन साहब, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग.
थीम आपके साथ. We decided that we will have this conversation in English. You know.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Sorry, my apologies.
No, it's all right. I think Mohan ji understands Hindi, but
I understand.
Yeah, we do it in English. Let me add that Mohan ji also has the Guruswamy Center in, I believe, Sikandrabad, which is the twin city of Hyderabad. You know, it's indistinguishable where Hyderabad starts and where Sikandrabad ends. But let's say it's the twin city. And I had the great privilege and honor to speak there when I was there recently in India. And I also would like to add that Mohan ji has been an advisor to Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee on financial matters. So, with
Right.
this introduction, we will let Mohanji tell us more about himself, how he thinks India and Pakistan can go forward, and especially the South Indian perspective on relations with between India and Pakistan, because we normally interact with people from northern India, but India is more than what the Hindi speaking belt of northern India is. So, one reason I thought we should have a perspective from the south as well. And nobody is better uh, qualified to speak from that perspective than Mohanji. So, please, sir, tell us more about yourself, a little
Well,
about your childhood, your friends,
I
what
was
formed your political opinions, and so on.
I was born in Hyderabad, in Secunderabad. My family migrated from even further south to here about 120 years ago. And so we've been here from 1905. And my father was in the Hyderabad Civil Service and then joined the Indian Army and then came back to the Indian Administrative Service. I had all my education here in Hyderabad up till my graduation when I went out to study at a place called Ahmedabad, which is where Modi comes from. In that town, I did my management studies and then I went to study economics at Cambridge, Massachusetts, and then came back to work in Delhi. So after that, from 1985, I've been in Delhi, and it's been a long innings in Delhi. And I returned to Hyderabad just a few years ago to come back to my roots, to retire and settle down there, where I built a house and I've with my ancestral home, I built the Guruswamy Center, which is a small auditorium which you see in Ishtiaq, and where we have informal get-togethers and meetings, hope to activate a parallel course of discourse in Hyderabad, and parallel to what is centered in Delhi. And I'm coming to the centering in Delhi because Delhi sets the tone of the discourse in India. And Delhi's discourse, in turn, is set by its Punjabi influx after partition. And that event has influenced discourse in India because most of our leading thinkers and intellectuals in Delhi are people who came from what is today Pakistan as migrants in 47 out of the partition, just as many Indians, Muslims went from, including people like Ziaul Haq, went from India to Pakistan. So they carried their memories with them and influenced discourse. At one time, out of the 7 MPs in Delhi, 6 were Punjabis. So Delhi was pretty much a Punjabi city. And just this morning, I was talking to an associate of mine, and we were saying that this really is a problem between Punjabis, Punjabi Hindus, Punjabi Sikhs, and Punjabi Muslims. And they carry, because partition, the main exchange of population in partition took place in the Punjab. Almost 11 million people changed homes. And so it influenced our discourse. Delhi is changing now, but we're carrying this baggage of partition when partition didn't affect people like me in the south. And when I was at a track two a few years ago, and our friends who were in the track two, mostly from Delhi and from Lahore and Islamabad, they kept saying, we're all the same stock. We're like brothers. I said, no, speak for yourself. I am not of the same stock. I come from ethnologically, linguistically, culturally of a different stock. And we are the majority of India, not not the Gujrats and the Maliks and the Malhotras.
And the Punjabis, of course.
Yeah, so so we are the people who represent India, and we don't carry this burden of partition.
That's it.
I have not had relatives.
Dr. Saab. Very interesting what Mohan Saab is telling us. Yes.
Yes,
Please, sir.
yes.
Yes.
Let him. Yes, I would like him to develop this idea.
Yes.
I think partly India is solving this problem through democracy by the majority asserting itself for the first time in its history. India was ruled by minorities, small linguistic, ethnic, cultural, religious minorities throughout its history. Even feudalism was ruled by minorities. For the first time, a majority has come to power, and the majority is trying to find its voice. And in this program, we've seen, I keep discussing with RSS people I know here about you guys hate Muslims so much, but you're still so nostalgic about a union, about Akhand Bharat. I think you're having problems dealing with 15-16% of Muslims within India, and you want to absorb another 200 million more, which will make 35% of India Muslim, of your Akhand Bharat Muslim, and they might even come to political power. So how are you going to deal with this within a democracy? So they have no answers. This debate has not been thought out properly, but this rancor of partition still carries. That Jinnah wanted partition, Savarkar wanted partition, and we shouldn't have partition. I mean, I think partition was a nice thing. From my perspective, we have less Punjabis at the top, and otherwise you can imagine 30-40% population of Punjabi Muslims, they would have been sitting over this country.
You are done.
Yeah.
If they were
If they were together, yes. Yeah.
Oh God.
That's where I'm coming from. Ideologically, I'm a little different on this. I don't have nostalgia for pre-partition India. I see it as different people in the subcontinent of different nationalities, different cultures, and therefore we must be united by shared values and by
That's
shared
interesting. Yeah.
ideas, scientific reason. And we are trying to get that message across. In India itself a problem. And I can see the struggles in Pakistan with religious extremism on the rise, the Jamaats and the Ulamas all going about their business. In my few visits to Pakistan, I used to notice this. And both countries are having problems to deal with religion as the basis of statehood. And as long as religion is the basis of statehood, and we have this incorrect understanding of history, we're going to continue. After all, today the RSS chief said that Muslim invaders. I said, why do you call them invaders? The same stock of Central Asian people who came throughout the millennia into India. Where did the Aryans come from? Where did the Persians come from? They came even before the Islamic period. So why do you see only the arrival of Muhammad bin Khatam as the arrival of Muslims? You guys have been coming from the West Central Asia and from West Asia throughout our history. Matter of fact, the fusion of these people into India gave us our culture. So the Indus, the old India was Indus river basin centric, and then we joined fused with the Ganges basin, and then the Deccan basins. The Deccan rivers are totally different. So all these cultures are together. We have to sort out who we are. And unless there's a discussion in Pakistan on this, and there's a discussion in India, and discussion between Indians and Pakistan as to who we are, we're not going to solve any we're going to carry this whole baggage of, मुसलमान हो, मैं हिंदू हूँ, तुमने इतनों को मारा, हमने इतनों को मारा, और ये बात चलते रहेगी. We're going to get rid of the baggage of the past, the wrong understanding of history, and come to a scientific basis, a rational basis for us to be together.
When you say a rational basis to be together, I am presuming that you mean that the current states in the subcontinent can remain independent states but be part of an Indian union of states like the European Union, something
Europe,
like that.
Europe is today a union of shared values.
Yes,
And all
shared
democracy.
values.
So,
Do you think? Let me pose this
as
question.
from here,
Let
We
me
could
pose this question.
under the- yeah,
I was
please.
I was thinking about SARC Charter. Do you think it was not good enough for us to try? Why did it not work?
You see, that's why I'm saying the rancor of the past, we still haven't been able to get rid of.
Sorry, say it again.
The rancor, the past, the immediate past. And we are still not able to get rid of the baggage.
Yes, that's correct.
And we are not only disagreed about what our future is going to be, in India we disagreed about what our past was.
That's it.
Certainly,
ask you something.
small villages in Deccan, in South India, which is Telugu area, you see, I think, statues of Shivaji. Why Shivaji? Because Shivaji fought with Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb is seen as the perfect archetypal Muslim villain in India. And Shivaji is the archetypal Indian Hindu hero who fought with Aurangzeb. So you see, we're still in that past. Whereas as far as I'm further down south are concerned, they're all of the same stock. Aryan,
Doctor?
Sikhi,
I'm trying to follow Mohanji, the argument that he is putting up. Very, very interesting. So, what I deduce from this, that the partition was primarily a UP, Punjabi, Gujarati problem. It never
Northern
involved.
Northern Indian, including what is Pakistan today.
Yes, yes, of course.
not
Not even Balochi and KP thing, because nothing happened there. They just decided to be part of it.
The UP Musliman wanted partition. The
The
Punjabi
UP
Musliman wanted
partition, not even the Punjabis. You know that, Dr. Saab. Punjabi bought the idea very, very late.
Yes.
It's only after 1937, after 37.
Yes, exactly.
Actually,
So it was
the
primarily
idea
a
itself,
thing.
the idea itself for a Muslim state and all, first developed in North India, in the UP landlord class.
Yeah, Aligarh mein.
But it's only in 37, after the election, that Jinnah was able to make a breakthrough in northwestern India and started convincing people that you join the Muslim League, otherwise in united India it will be dominated by the Hindu Congress. That was the slogan he made use of. Prior to that,
Yes,
there was no support for these two states or three states in the subcontinent. But
yes.
it's true, once this idea caught up, in 7 years, yes, 7 years, it spread like wildfire, and it resulted in the partition. That's
We
true.
we know that your book is very clear about what happened, and we have
Yeah.
seen in the consequent history what the partition meant for the East Punjab and the West Punjab, the present. I have a question for both of you, if you allow me. You just mentioned the European Union and that kind of coming together of the different peoples. But we have seen the concept of European unity going through a lot of crisis, even especially in the present days after the Ukraine war started and whatever is happening in Europe today, it seems to be falling apart, the whole notion of coming together. And as Mohanji pointed out, that of course India is not one India, it's not just Punjab or UP or Gujarat, or if you like to add any other part. It's also the South India, that is, of course, an altogether different entity within the Indian Union. So, if that is the case, would you like to think of a united India with the complications that Mohanji pointed out, with an overwhelming Muslim population and a problematic Punjabi population if they come together? Because, of course, Punjabis find it very hard to rest peacefully. The problem, so a loose confederation of smaller states would have been a better idea. How do you like to think of more peaceful, more violent?
I would let Mohanji speak first and then I will give my input. This is a very important question. Yeah, Mohanji?
You see, I'm not nostalgic about just oneness. The important thing is that religion cannot be the basis of a state or a nationality. It has to be shared perceptions of history, shared culture, language. These could be basis, and a common understanding of notions of equality, that all men are born equal and we have inherent rights. These are the values which should bind unions together or nations together. The problem is with India and Pakistan. Pakistan more so because Pakistan is avowedly a religious state, and India was supposedly a secular state, which is now becoming increasingly religious, and therefore we conflict. As long as we both are states based on our identity and our own perceptions of history, we can never come together. We can only come together when we are democratic states who believe that all men are equal, all humans are equal, and what you do in your home and your privacy is your problem. And then there is a we won't kill each other on who we believe is our God. And if there is a God, it has to be a universal God. These are things we have to start dealing with. And it might take us a long time to come to this level of understanding and thinking. How long did it take Europe before it could dump the basis of, of, of religion and as a basis of statehood? But the problem with Europe, it's trying to be a Europe without Russia. Whereas Russia is really the bulwark of Europe. And Europe, therefore, is carrying the Cold War baggage, or imperial baggage of Britain's animosity towards Russia, imperial Russia.
That's very well put. I totally agree. That's true. That's true.
Without Russia. And we are also carrying the same baggage of our past. अब आप हकीकत की बात ये देखिए
So
only Golconda came under imperial Delhi rule only after the fort was subdued by Aurangzeb. After 30 years of struggle in the Deccan.
And Golconda is just in Hyderabad. It's very close to where you live, isn't it?
And we had there was no link with Delhi. Political link. And we were not a part of the imperial state which existed from Delhi.
But
लोग की इतिहास कुछ और ही है.
let me try. You pose the question that would this area be more peaceful if it had smaller states? This is what you were saying,
That's
Doctor.
what I'm saying. So, but with a better maybe political arrangement under some.
But I have
Uh,
to be
I would, yeah. Let
I have to
Mohanji
be
speak. I have my point of view.
very careful about what we say, because considering the kind of, you're happily ensconced in Stockholm, but Dr. Zafar and myself, we're living in two primitive states where free thinking is not permissible.
No, he's saying this, not I. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
My
I'm just
argument is that
putting a
my my argument is that if India were broken up into many smaller states, there would be as many armies to maintain for each state, as many uh, greater spending on defense and so on. And
Hmm.
India would, like in the past, always be vulnerable to attack from outside.
मैं
Hmm.
आपसे एक बात सर, इश्तियाक अहमद सर,
Sorry?
you
We want
probably know
to
Shujan
No, I,
Nawaz, you
yeah,
probably know Shujan Nawaz,
yeah,
who's
yeah,
Atlantic Council में जो है.
that's
Shujan
correct.
and I did a study called the cost of conflict.
हाँ, बिल्कुल, I see.
तो काफी छपा हुआ and काफी published हुआ and has been discussed in many places, including Pakistan and India. We said, अगर हम, what is the percentage of GDP that India spends on its defense? It's less than 2%. Again, even if we had all peaceful borders around us, we would still need an army. We still need a small air force. Even a country like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, which has no external enemies, have to have air force, have navy, have these are the flags, the totems of a modern state.
Hmm.
अगर हिंदुस्तान के ना हो तो पाकिस्तान को एक फौज चाहिए ना. So that is the structure of the modern state. तो उतना ही पैसा खर्च होता था, except that in Pakistan, the army has become an instrument. The state has become an instrumentality of the army.
Yeah.
It's an army-dominated polity.
Well, the
There
army
is-
dominates.
there
That
are,
is
there are
why.
reasons. We have discussed very candidly the reasons. We understand. Dr. Saab, I have a question, a very disturbing question actually.
Yeah.
The notions that we assign to the idea of nationhood that keeps people together, they were challenged and they fell apart when the town partition took place. For example, shared history, same culture, it all fell apart. We have seen that happening. Even having a common enemy, okay, let's say Brits were the common enemies of the Hindus and Muslims together. It didn't work.
They united us.
In the United India, I'm saying, before the partition took place. So, should the past, shared past, did not really help. We had a shared past, it did not help. So, how could a shared space work? It had to happen, inevitable. How do we look at this argument?
You
Now we
want
are
my
talking-
input? My input or Mohan's?
Yeah.
Mohan Saab.
Both.
My position is that this shared sense of history has to be cultivated by the leadership, and the leadership got split because the Muslim group wanted a separate state for themselves. So unless you share a common sense of of the past and of values, there is no unity. But this happened even later on between East Pakistan and West Pakistan. And as you know, this issue is a living problem between Balochistan and the central government of Pakistan. The situation in the northwest frontier or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is not very conducive. So, if you want to divide people, you can always keep on finding arguments to divide them, and there is no safety against that. But I think the leadership quality should be such that you rise above these sectarian, ethnic, religious uh, ideas and bring humanity together on shared aspirations, sense of security, dignity, respect. That's what Mohanji is saying. That
Yes.
dividing people is possible even in the same mohalla where you live. You can start fighting on who will enter the street and who will not enter the street. There is no end to how much you can split people on whatever ground you can find.
Whatever grounds,
So,
even economic prosperity cannot guarantee it.
yeah,
We have seen
the,
that
yeah,
through
the
Brexit.
art of
We have
the art.
seen that through Scottish separatist movement.
I
We have seen,
agree.
yes.
So I think India, had it remained united, it would have been then for the government of India to prove that all were treated well. That chance was never given to India.
Hmm.
Also, I would say that if the Indian leadership really wanted to work on the theory of revenge, then they would have thrown out all the Muslims who were left behind in India, but they did not. And it's that.
But had they done it, it would have destroyed their own claim of
So
multipolarity and all that.
so what do you want? You can't say that they had a certain set of values and they remained honest to that and faithful to that. But uh, that was wrong in that case, or what? I think it was the right thing to do. But now we have to live with the past because the Muslim separatists were able to convince the Muslims to vote for Pakistan, and Pakistan came into being. But this is not the end of history. We know what is happening in Bangladesh now. We know
Yes.
how things are in Pakistan. It's still, I think, as Mohanji is
Another
saying,
past is in the making.
yeah,
Another past is in the
we have
making.
to
What
we
we
have
are
to
doing
bring
will be a past. Yes.
yeah we have to bring together people on shared values. I think this is where a possibility exists. It may never take place, that's a different thing. But we are just intellectuals who have a point of view, and that's what we are saying. And I would like Mohanji to keep on speaking rather than me.
How would you like to respond to this one?
You see, this I grew up after partition, uh, blaming Nehru for everything is wrong. There are a lot of homes in India. But as time went on, I began to realize what a great man he was. If you read Discovery of India, he puts himself away and looks at India dispassionately over the entire period of its history.
Quite.
तो अगर किताब पढ़े उनकी तो ताजमहल भी हमारा है, मीनाक्षी टेम्पल भी हमारा है, बनारस भी हमारा है, the places in Pakistan which are Ajmer Sharif is ours. It's all a part of a syncretic culture that we are inheritors of this mishmash. यहाँ पे ये आपकी प्राइवेट चीज है, आप घर में जिसको यकीन करते हो कर लीजिए, मगर डोंट ब्रिंग इट इनटू द पब्लिक स्पेस. So religion was not, your caste was not a basis of determining your worth. But that India is changing also.
Yes, that's the main thing. And we want to hear your views on that. What
That
are
India,
your yeah, yeah.
that I find that the notion that, let me say that I think that all belief is primitive. That there is an afterlife and that what you do here will be decided in your will decide how you share These are all unscientific, unproven beliefs.
Quite right. I agree.
I think religion is therefore very primitive. It was a public instrument of public policy to keep people well behaved and in their places. कि तुम अगर ऐसे नहीं करोगे, तुम हुकूमत के खिलाफ बोलोगे, राजा के खिलाफ बोलोगे, you're not earning brownie points, and you will not end up at the nice place at the end of our life. So, if you start believing in all these things, then you will end up believing in our problems. So the basis for therefore Nehru insisted on a scientific temper. The Constitution says creating an India with a scientific temper. There are a few Pakistanis who I have met who realize this, like Parvesh Woodboy in Karachi. He talks of a scientific temper as the basis of a society.
Who are you talking about? Who?
Parvesh Woodboy.
Yeah. Pravesh Woodboy. Yeah.
Yes, good boy. Yes.
You know, so Nehru was a different man and a different temper. He was educated abroad. He brought his Western notions. You might dismiss these notions as Western notions. But Eastern notions of statehood are quite primitive. अभी परसों आप हमारे सेंटर पे आए थे, उससे आधे माइल पे परसों एक मीटिंग हुआ ऑफ अ इस्लामिक
Islamic?
ग्रुप जिनकी लीडरशिप कोर्स कुछ उनकी ग्रुप की ट्रेनिंग सेशन हुआ, 100 लोग इकट्ठा हुए, तो उसमें एक जनाब इतने इम्पैशनेट हो गए कि उन्होंने 2-3 लोगों को भड़काया. And the next day in a small temple in the corner which nobody goes to, उस पे जाके एक आदमी ने हमला किया.
हमला कर दिया?
हमला किया कि went and जो आइडल थी अंदर उसके साथ छूमछार किया, किसी ने पकड़ लिया उसको almost killed him by physically beating him. And then there's a mosque behind that near mosque. They wanted to attack the mosque. So this is, for the last 4 days, Hyderabad has been closed. Now,
So, Mohanji, let me pose this question. Jawaharlal Nehru, his scientific temper, his view about India, inclusive, syncretic, pluralist, this was the view of a intellectual who was also a politician and a statesman and became prime minister. The question is, how deeply rooted were these values in the society? I think that's the problem.
These values are very difficult to imbibe because it's easy to succumb to passion.
Yes.
It's far easy to look at Aurangzeb historically and say, "Ye badla." And it's easy to extol Shivaji. ये औरंगजेब से लड़ा क्यों? But Marathas में they were most rapacious rulers of other regions. बंगाल में आज भी मराठाओं के बारे में they said be careful, the Marathas will come again. Because they were rapacious, they extracted 1/3 of all agricultural production as tax, and they were cruel. Like all rulers were cruel. When Rajput rulers were cruel, everybody was cruel. Feudalism was a cruel system.
My mind is going in different directions as you are speaking. Common interests. For example, if you and I are doing business together, shall we still want to be politically divided? We have seen that happening. But at that time, there was a third force, the Brits. They were at the helm of affairs. So we can blame them. It's easy to shift the blame that they made it happen out forces. Now you and I are sitting face to face. There's no third one in between us. Do you think if we are doing business together, we would still want to be politically rivals of each other?
Well, I think if we were doing business together, if we behaved like civilized human beings, we wouldn't have had these problems.
Sorry for interrupting you. We don't even have to be civilized. We need to have common interests. Money is coming into our pockets through common business.
Well, you'll be surprised.
That's only possible if you.
Civilized. Money will come into our pockets if we are civilized.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It should be benefit for all.
Like each other.
Everybody should benefit.
Have proven themselves as not capable of civilized behavior by and large, or we get provoked by a minority into uncivilized behavior. अब एक आदमी ने गुजरात में चुनाव जीतने के लिए 3,000 लोग को मरवाया to become chief minister, and then later on rise in politics. Is that civilized behavior?
Is that behavior?
Pakistan also.
But let me make a confession here. When Jaishankar Saab came to Pakistan for the SCO summit, I wrote a very harsh article and it was published on the day he arrived in Pakistan. It was very, very intentional. And knowing that I strongly believe in Indo-Pak dialogue and I strongly believe in peace and people-to-people contact and of course friendship, I wrote it with all this at the back of my mind, and people were quite confused about what I was doing. And I wrote it why? Because it was necessary. It was necessary in response to how he was behaving and acting on the world political stage, making loose statements about Pakistan as well as other neighbors. So I wanted that when he lands in Pakistan, he should not have a feeling of being welcomed warmly. You come because he made the statement, I'm not going to meet any Pakistani, I'm coming for SCO summit. So my point of view was, okay, fine, come attend the summit and go home. No media discussion here. When we invite you or when you accept the invitation, when you will come, we will give you a very warm reception and welcome. But when you make that kind of statement before leaving home, you're not welcome. So that's what I did. So
Jaishankar's problem, he's a recent mullah.
He's a
Recent mullah. He has to now prove that he is more zealous than his master. तो वो ये ऐसी बातें करते रहता है, जहाँ बोलता है छेड़खानी करता है. He thinks that is policy, that is politics, by being over smart. Actually, it's imbecilic mentality. You have a chance, you go to Pakistan for SCO, whatever it was. You get a chance to meet the Pakistan leadership, shake hands with them, and see if you can break bread again.
Actually, it ended.
Cases of these two fellows sitting and having dinner, we're not going to solve Kashmir problem. Kashmir problem has to be solved by the people in the valley.
Yeah. So ultimately, despite making such statements, when he came, the Pakistanis gave him a very warm welcome. I saw the whole ceremony, and then he and Pakistan's finance and foreign minister sat together and even, I think, talked to one another in a friendly manner. And when he went and when he left,
I don't think so, sir. Warm welcome was accorded to Vajpayee Saab. It was mere decency and courtesy the way he was treated here.
No.
Yeah, but let I'm not defending Jai Shankar. I'm saying the most genuine Indian leadership wanting peace with Pakistan was Prime Minister Vajpayee. If we
Yeah,
forget Nehru, who belonged to the past,
lot of respect
what
for
did
him.
we do? What did we do to him? When he came as Prime Minister of India, Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff refused to salute him. And then they did Kargil. So I think one cannot. I read that article and I was a bit surprised that you wrote such a harsh article, but I didn't comment because I thought that's your privilege.
Yes,
But
and now
but
I
but,
have the
but
opportunity
the
to
thing
explain
is,
why.
yeah, the thing is, selective memory doesn't help. That's my point of view. I am tempted, provoked all the time. You know, I make videos and they write there. What is the point of you saying it? Nobody listens to you in Pakistan and so on. So the trolls are always after me. So either I succumb to their stupidity or I continue doing what I believe is the right thing. So I think this India Pakistan dialogue should be a forum where we look at the higher possibilities. And that
I
is why I think
totally agree.
Mohanji is very central to that because, first of all, he has led a public life of great responsibility. He has had important positions and he continues to devote the forum at the Guru Swami Center where people are welcome to come and present their views. So I think in that spirit, we have to rise above these uh, about what Jayashankar did and what he did and what about uh, Pakistan's foreign minister uh, Zardari Bhutto, Bilawal, calling the Indian Prime Minister the um, butcher
The
of
butcher,
Gujarat, and then
yes.
he had to go to India,
I,
where they
I
gave him,
totally
where
agree
they,
with you, Dr. Sir.
yeah. So I think
And
it's
you remember,
that
I've been
that
insisting.
that
Did you please?
article of yours is your decision. I wouldn't have written it, but you did, and you had a purpose. It's fine. I think it was all right. Yeah,
Let me just add one more thing, and then we can move on to the next question that Mon sir.
yeah,
The idea is, I've been saying it on this forum, that I strongly believe in the kind of language that you use, and we need to find a language that is decent, friendly, and
yeah,
welcome. What Bilawal sir was, name calling. I don't believe in name calling, that you call this to Modi Saab, and I have always spoken very respectfully about Modi Saab,
yeah.
despite all the
He's
differences
too
in
rude
this.
a man. I think
I,
Bilawal
I
has no basic grooming in politeness. No
Yes, so
grooming.
I strongly believe in the language that you use, and if Jaishankar Saab is, as Mohanji put it, that he is outperforming his role as a foreign
Yes, that's
minister,
true.
and he has no care about the kind of language he believes he has the right to use about anybody he likes. So I would like just to make him realize
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you don't
It's
have
fine.
that
Yeah,
much space. So you should, if you talk nicely, we will talk nicely. But you
yeah. I
cannot
think
be
that's
rude
fair.
to me and expect niceties from me.
That's fair enough.
It is as simple as that. We
Fair
are
enough.
very happy. We have a lot of friends we really care about in India, and we care about Indian people. And the article was not about the Indian people; it was about him, and he
Yeah,
represents the Indian
yeah.
establishment. So, Mohanji, you have worked with Vajpayee Saab, and of course, you have witnessed the time when he came to Lahore, when the peace talks. What were your feelings at that time? Were you very full of a lot of hope at that time that things can change and things can move better in a better direction?
No, I thought it was a good effort that he was trying to break the ice and break the thaw by establishing personal relationships with the leadership. And Musharraf screwed things up by going and doing Kargil. But the same Musharraf came back again and again, wanting to do the same thing which Nawaz Sharif was trying to do.
Quite right.
Their own ambitions came in between. Vajpayee trying, and then everybody in India said, look, you stupid old man, you went to Pakistan in the bus, and they stabbed you in the back, and you made him look very foolish. But luckily for Vajpayee, the Kargil allowed him to win the election. So then he got a chance to prove that I can also fight. I can also use harsh language. अगर कारगिल ना होता तो बेचारे चुनाव हार जाते. By then the economy was in shambles. He had gone through a cycle where he was not able to carry with economic reforms. The regime was beset with problems of allocation of favors. And Kargil saved it. And
Saved Vajpayee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Because, from being people said, he tried to make peace with Pakistan, but then they wouldn't give him a chance. So he picked up a sword and began to fight. To that extent, Kargil helped him. And even in times of crisis, when there's a war going on, the election was going on at the same time. People rallied to the support of the government.
That's correct.
And they rallied to Vajpayee government, which was but therefore many in India would say that Kargil was the deal between India and Pakistan to save Vajpayee.
Although conspiracy theories, we are very, very keen on those.
But Dr. Saab, a very interesting point Mohanji is raising. Should we not look at the cause and effect thing, and who is the beneficiary of what happens?
Vajpayee was genuine. He thought that with charm and goodwill, he can sort out problems. But हम पूछते थे उस वक्त कि कश्मीर दे दोगे आप? पाकिस्तानी मांगते हैं. Will you give it off? Will you conduct a referendum in Kashmir? If you conduct a referendum in Kashmir, then you have to conduct a referendum in all parts of India. My state of Hyderabad got annexed by the army. हमारे पास referendum कीजिए.
Mohanji, एक बात I would like you to tell us about the annexation of Hyderabad has still remained a big question. How do you look upon it? What happened?
The fact is that Hyderabad was a Muslim-ruled state.
Yeah.
And ruled by a Muslim feudatory of the Mughal, who came established a kingdom here. The Asaf Shah dynasty called it. 7 generations ruled here. What they created was a state where out of 1,400 civil servants, 1,100 officers were Muslim. Only 200 were Hindus. Out of the land of the state, which was 80,000 square miles plus, the Nizam personally owned 10%. The Paida family, which was the Muslim nobility, owned another 40%. And another 15-20% were owned by other landlords. And people had nothing. It was excruciatingly poor state. You had a rich Nizam who kept the biggest dam in the world as a paperweight. And it was, and the Razakars, who were encouraged by the Nizam, were hoping to continue with the state. Just like feudalism had to end all over India. Whether it was Muslim feudalism or Hindu feudalism, it didn't matter. Feudalism had to end in Hyderabad. You think we could have had a Nizam ruling Hyderabad for much longer when the winds of freedom were blowing. So, he was against the wind. To say that those people extol the glory of Nizam, ye kiya, wo kiya. But he was like a feudal. He was like no different from a Jaipur or a Jodhpur. लूट मार के खाए, हुकूमत किया, किसानों से गरीबों से पैसा चूसा, एक्सपेक्ट किया, अपने आप पे खर्च किया. They saw themselves as the state. If you talk of what do you think of the Nizam, how can I extol feudalism? Suppose instead of Usman Ali Pasha, we had Jai Singh. Would it have been?
What I understand from Dr. Saab's question is that Hyderabad, Deccan was an independent state. The annexation of it, they wanted to have feudalism. They didn't want to have feudalism. It was their matter. Annexation is different.
No. Majority. There were agitations in the state. There were Hindu agitations, Congress agitations, communist agitation, all wanting a change against feudal state. Don't worry, there was a Telangana movement which was a communist insurrection to create a Maoist state in India, to create a communist state in India.
Okay, last question, if you allow me. Dr. Saab, what do you think? Is today's India capable of coming out of its regional problems and forge better relations with its neighbors?
The question is to me or to Mohan ji?
आप दोनों से, both of you.
I'll let Mohan ji
आप.
answer that.
As long as Kashmir becomes the central piece key, you solve this problem, all will get solved. Nothing will happen.
हम लड़ते रहे कश्मीर पे को तीसरा ही ले जाए, ये भी हो सकता है.
And Pakistan will never be able to. The Pakistani army will never be able to take Kashmir by force.
Will never be able to take
Kashmir by force.
What out of the question? Out of the question.
And so is the case with the Indian army taking the Pakistani part.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that is possible either. There's
no reason. Why does India want any part of Pakistan in it? With all its problems.
वही जैसे in the beginning you say 15% is a problem. Why do you want to add more people to the problem? Who wants that?
Mohan ji rightly pointed out, so many Punjabis together. Oh my God, look at the situation.
This is what my friend Asaduddin Owaisi told in Pakistan. कि आप मेरे फिक्र मत कीजिए, हमारे पास एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, हमारे पास जमहूरियत है, आपके पास तो कुछ नहीं है. आप अपनी फिक्र कीजिए.
Yeah, we'll try to take care of ourselves. आप भी अपना ख्याल रखिएगा. मेरा ख्याल है कि यहीं पे फिर आज फ्यूल आउट तो यहीं पे गुफ्तगू खत्म करते हैं. Thank you very much, Mohan ji, for joining. Dr. Saab, आपका तो always grateful to you for being here and for introducing such wonderful friends to us. And you all take care of yourself. We are very, very hopeful that one day we will find the language in which we can speak to each other, and we'll find a space in which we can coexist peacefully. Thank you very much.
We will become civilized people.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Khuda Hafiz. Pakistan.